school. You deserve it. Enjoy the money.
Thanks for being with us. Look forward to seeing you next time on The Taste Australia.
A third of the state's students head back to school tonight. Extreme safety measures, but a freak playground accident leaves an 8-year-old boy with critical head injuries. Ready to reopen restaurants counting down to Friday, but there's criticism the government's approach is wrong, fears of a second major infection wave. The biggest budget deficit in history, coronavirus and bushfires combined taking a gigantic toll. Kept in the dark, airline staff point the finger at the Ruby Princess, saying secrecy exposed them to infected passengers. Taxi graveyard, cabs abandoned on a Sydney street, fines pile up, a cry for help from a struggling industry. And remembering one of Sydney's great characters, Jack Mundy, who saved so much of our city's history from the wrecking ball.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. A freak accident on the day schools started returning from the corona lockdown has left an 8-year-old boy with critical head injuries. Tonight he's being treated in Sydney Children's Hospital after a care flight medical team flew him from his Northern Beaches primary school.
One of thousands of children returning to school, but for this little boy, just 2 hours back, then a terrible fall. It's believed the Mona Vale Public School student tripped over a tree root. The Year 3 student hit his head and went into cardiac arrest. He was airlifted to hospital and tonight is in a critical condition. Devastating news on a day where so many children, just like him, walked through the school gate for the first time in weeks.
Really good. I love school.
It's good to get back to normal.
Education in the pandemic looks different.
Good morning once again.
Good morning, Miss Matai.
Classes are small, seats spaced out, and there's plenty of hand sanitizer.
Extra cleaning throughout the day, bathrooms, high-touch surface areas. All of these measures are in place to ensure that our schools are as safe as possible.
How do we save today? Social. Good girls.
Enfield Public is even using outdoor areas for part of the day, and all schools have a new element in the curriculum.
Stay away from other people, don't touch your face and wash your hands regularly.
This week, every student will return for at least one day of face-to-face teaching. Students in Year 12, 3 or 4 times a week.
The chaotic plan that the Premier has put to teachers is just completely unworkable.
Each school has developed its own roster.
I don't see the point in one day a week.
Really difficult decision. I think there's just so much competing advice, different states doing different things.
We hope all children will be back by the end of the month, and that's assuming everything goes well.
As activity increases in schools, parents are being warned coronavirus outbreaks are likely. If they do occur, the school will be shut down for a deep clean and a testing clinic will be set up in the community to track down cases. The government is expected to announce staggered work and school times later this week to help manage crowds. Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Despite another death at Sydney's virus-riddled Newmarch House, the state is down to just one new case overnight, with high expectations for Friday's easing of lockdown restrictions. A major restaurant chain is planning to open for business, with bookings from eager diners already flooding in.
When Roche's restaurants open their doors again on Friday, it won't be quite the way they've done it for the last 22 years.
And the menus as well?
Menus, so they've asked for menus to be disposable.
Knives, forks, cups, all disposable. The staff in masks, gloves, hairnets where needed.
It's going to be a very different dining experience, isn't it?
100%. It's going to be completely different from to start off with, but I think they still want to dine.
In fact, the moment they started advertising yesterday, the bookings rolled in.
For 6:30 this Friday, okay, no worries.
50 days lockdown, deliveries and takeaway only. They can't wait to open, even though they'll lose more money than they make.
There's no way you could open and make money with 10 people, you know, it's impossible.
The Industry Association says around 25% of restaurants won't open. The financials just don't add up.
It is difficult for you to bring back on your staff and open your business. It's not break even for you to just have 10 at a time.
Frustration too for those wanting to use the new 10 persons outside rule. The law doesn't allow them to meet in your backyard.
Unfortunately, it doesn't. So you can welcome 5 people into your home.
Critics are calling it policy on the run, haphazard and inconsistent.
Don't do ad hoc announcements. That is confusing for small business. That is confusing for residents.
But as more examples emerge of people flaunting social distancing rules, fears of a second wave. one of the nation's leading epidemiologists, believes it's inevitable.
And most likely we'll have to be, putting the foot on and off the brake intermittently to manage it.
Today, yet another death at the Newmarch home. Anglicare saying the resident had previously tested positive but then returned 2 negatives.
It just seems to be a way to fiddle the numbers, if you like.
Anthony Bowe is now calling for a police investigation after his mother suffered a bed fall.
I just want some people to be honest and answer some questions.
Today's the 18th COVID-related death.
Let's go live now to Chris Rees. And Chris, with cafes and restaurants seating patrons from Friday, is there any news on pubs and clubs?
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Well, multiple pubs and hotels have contacted 7 News asking the same question, asking that if they have a restaurant on the premises, why can't they too open their doors and accept customers on Friday? We put that to the state government. There is no definitive ruling on that yet, but cabinet-level sources are telling us that we are likely to get more detail on that as they draft these new public health orders. So we're likely to know one way or the other by this Friday. Mark, this is a very fluid policy space right now.
It sure is. Chris Reason, thank you. Economists are predicting the biggest budget deficit in Australian history this year, more than $140 billion, as the coronavirus takes a gigantic toll on our economy. Adding to the financial woes the rebuild required after last summer's devastating bushfires.
The fires may be out, but the challenges are still smouldering.
The impact of those bushfires was absolutely devastating.
Sending another $650 million in recovery funds to rebuild communities.
It's a locally led recovery, not a Canberra-led recovery, and we will be building back better.
A theme Labor leader Anthony Albanese also wants to guide the recovery from the coronavirus crisis.
A once-in-a-generation chance to reshape our economy.
Reshape and rebalance, arguing that those who have the least have suffered the most.
The broadest burden has been put on the narrowest shoulders.
Committing Labor to winding back the casualisation of the workforce and reviving manufacturing, as Deloitte Access Economics predicts budget deficits peaking at $143 billion this year and falling to $33 billion within 3 years.
People worry about those big deficits. They're good news, right? That's the budget taking care of families.
Treasury is planning to review the largest of those supports, the $130 billion JobKeeper scheme, but Scott Morrison says there are no plans to cut it or shut it down early.
All of this is very premature. We are 6 weeks into a 6-month program.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg will deliver an economic update on that program when Parliament returns tomorrow, the traditional budget lock-up day, instead focusing on the coronavirus lockdown. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A Sydney mother who's confronting arrest at an anti-lockdown rally went viral online, claims she's received an outpouring of support. But not everyone is on her side. The Premier delivering a scathing message for protesters today, saying the behaviour was unacceptable and put lives at risk.
Renee Altacruti, mother, business owner, protester. In trouble for breaching social distancing laws, brought in during the COVID lockdown, the very thing she was protesting against. And she brought her son.
Why is she under arrest? Why is she under arrest?
The 36-year-old kept her supporters updated when she was arrested and put into the back of a police paddy wagon.
They singled me out, they bullied me.
And upon her release.
Good morning all. I just wanted to do a quick post to say thank you so much for everyone's private messages of love and support.
Issued a $1,000 fine for breaching social distancing laws.
The right to protest is one of the basic tenets of democracy, and that should always be available.
But not when the public's being put at risk.
I didn't notice good social distancing at those protests.
Altacruti has accused police of being heavy-handed. Now police are investigating her after receiving reports she's been operating her cosmetic surgery business, which would be another breach of the law. Renee Altacruti was given the opportunity to talk on camera about what happened. She agreed to, but at a price. She wanted $10,000 to tell her side of the story.
Should you have had your child at the protest, Renee?
But it may not be the last we see of her.
Thank you for understanding. Love you all. Have a great day. Bye.
Police haven't ruled out laying further charges. Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
A father of two is behind bars tonight after allegedly spitting on two police officers following a violent standoff in Western Sydney. Police were called to Cranebrook after the man allegedly harassed his pregnant girlfriend when she said she was leaving him.
A Sunday afternoon standoff with tactical police urging Elijah Delaney to surrender. Instead, the father of two jumped between neighbours' roofs and is accused of launching tiles at officers.
It was just some idiot walking up and down the roofs and yelling and screaming.
We heard this loud banging, this loud commotion. We did hear a lot of things. It sounded like they were crashing on the ground.
Police were called to Delaney's Cranebrook home after he allegedly harassed his pregnant girlfriend, who'd told him she wanted out. After an hour-long operation, police set up a ladder and the 24-year-old, who's currently on parole, came down. Delaney was brought here to Penrith Police Station where the violence allegedly continued. As two officers led him to the cells, it's alleged the 24-year-old spat in their faces.
A disgusting behaviour, and it's really something that we would like to see people make a conscious effort to stop.
Delaney faced a magistrate today and didn't apply for bail. The case will be heard again next week. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
Virgin Australia staff potentially exposed to infected Ruby Princess passengers have told investigators they were kept in the dark about the extent of sickness on board. They were at Circular Quay to organise onward travel, not realising their clients could be carrying COVID-19.
As infected passengers left the Ruby Princess on March 19, Virgin staff directed hundreds to connecting flights. 7 News has learnt those airline staff have spoken with police saying they were categorically told no one on board had coronavirus.
People haven't been adequately told about some of the consequences that we've experienced as workers.
In fact, coronavirus could not possibly have been ruled out. There were no test facilities on the Ruby Princess. Carnival Australia tells us we adhered to public health advice from the government, which was equally available to airline operators. At the Special Commission of Inquiry today, a senior Carnival executive also denied having ever said categorically there were no coronavirus cases on board the Ruby Princess on the morning of March 19. A previous witness has a starkly different recollection. From a Ports official on Wednesday relating a conversation with Carnival's Paul Mifsud.
He basically said it was basically business as usual. He said that NSW Health had deemed the ship a low risk, that it wasn't a COVID ship, that the ambulances weren't related to COVID.
And from Mr Mifsud today.
Did you say to him words to this effect, look, it's business as usual?
It doesn't sound like I'd say that.
Or did you say that New South Wales Health have not said it is a COVID ship?
No, I do not believe I said that.
The inquiry has adjourned to resume later this month. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Britain's suffering has been immense, but in a prime-time national address, Boris Johnson confirmed the UK will take its first careful steps out of lockdown. The process will be very slow, with little changing for most. Anything else would be madness, according to the British Prime Minister.
After nearly 8 weeks in lockdown, Britain's Prime Minister put the UK on a path out. Not yet, but soon.
No, this is not the time simply to end the lockdown this week.
Millions of Britons watched a 14-minute explanation of what Boris Johnson called the first sketch of a roadmap to lift the lockdown, encouraging a return to work if necessary, but not to use public transport. And as Britain faces its worst economic downturn in 300 years, shops will stay shut until at least June, pubs until at least July.
This campaign against the virus has come at colossal cost to our way of life.
And incoming visitors will face 2 weeks quarantine, but not yet. The death toll across Britain now standing at nearly 32,000. Tragic, Boris Johnson said. Officially, 4,000 people a day across Britain are testing positive to coronavirus, but government advisors have told the Prime Minister the real number is closer to 18,000 people a day still falling sick. And Boris Johnson's been warned if he lifts the lockdown too soon, 100,000 Britons could be dead from coronavirus by the end of the year. The Queen is reportedly taking special precautions, now staying at Windsor indefinitely, giving up her traditional summer holiday at Balmoral with public engagements cancelled to ride out what Boris Johnson says is a vicious threat to Britain. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Disturbing new details have emerged about the alleged behaviour of the Porsche driver involved in a Melbourne freeway crash that killed 4 police officers. Richard Pusey was applying for bail. The hearing told he spent 3 minutes recording and narrating a video of the tragic crash scene.
A psychologist says Richard Pusey has fantasised about killing people, and police claim he boasted about speeding at 300 kilometres per hour on the Eastern Freeway. But his lawyer says he isn't a risk to the public. As Pusey sat flanked by guards and wearing a mask, prosecutors claimed he'd previously been kicked off a plane for calling an air hostess a fat cow, intimidated staff at a bank and threatened to drive a car down Burke Street in what police claim could have been a James Gargasoulis-style attack. Police concluded he takes a disturbing pleasure in causing others fear and discomfort. As for Pusey allegedly filming a dying officer, his lawyer said he may have been in shock and still traumatised. People react to trauma in different ways. The informant hit back. Yes, but they don't walk around filming and zooming in. His conduct in taking those videos and photos doesn't say shock. When asked what he should have been doing, police said he could be administering CPR. A decision on his freedom will be made on Thursday. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Jack Mundy is being remembered tonight as a union giant who helped save a big slice of Sydney history from the wrecking ball. The father of the Green Band has passed away at the age of 90 after decades of standing up for workers and the city, a fight that saw him arrested many times and threatened with his own life.
It's a heritage jewel now, but the rocks could have been torn down.
Transformed to this. Tall buildings will rise to give Sydney a gateway as impressive as any other city in the world.
A 1970s future we might have had if not for the defiance of Jack Mundy, who led the Builders Labourers Federation to block developers and save Sydney's oldest buildings.
One of the proudest chapters is the fight for the green bands, because it was unions using their muscle to support ordinary people.
After playing for Parramatta in the 1950s, Jack Mundy became a labourer, rising through the union ranks as he worked on buildings like the Opera House.
Such a charismatic fellow. A lot of people would have followed him regardless of where he led them, to be quite honest.
Like stopping Centennial Park from being turned into an Olympic venue and using people power to save history, homes and recreation areas in Woolloomooloo, Potts Point and Hunters Hill.
And 1,000 cars were going to be parked all around this area. This part of the Botanical Gardens was going to be destroyed forever.
Thanks to Jack, we now have parts of our heritage preserved that were otherwise destined for the bulldozers.
Between angry developers and union rivals, Jack Mundy had plenty of enemies. He says that after he knocked back huge cash and property bribes, the police told him a contract had been taken out on his life. A life now part of the city's history. Brian Seymour, 7 News.
Australia's first international supermodel, Maggie Eckhart, has died. Sydney-born Eckhart auditioned for the Queen's dressmaker as a teenager. That led to a job in London, later working for Balenciaga in Paris and featured on the covers of top fashion magazines. She later turned to television, hosting the Maggie Eckhart Show, and was one of ad man John Singleton's 6 wives. Miss Eckhart is believed to have been in her 80s. Time now for a check on our weather, and Brownie, very nice in the sun today.
Yes, indeed, Fergo, following a rather frosty start inland. At the moment, as we look at current conditions, you'll see it's sitting on 15 degrees, but in the dry southerly breeze, it actually feels like 13. Now, our total water supply at the moment stands at 82.1%. That's a drop of 0.3% in the past week. Statewide, cold and clear today. Following a frosty start inland, you'll notice both Goulburn and Thredbo drop to -4 degrees. This southerly that's been running up the coast triggered some offshore showers here, just sitting over the warm water. Now, light frosts are expected to return to the western half of the metro area, and that will happen around about sunrise. But at the moment, temperatures generally around 13 degrees in most suburbs. Of course, detailed local forecast, top of the hour, Fergo.
OK, David, thank you. A Sydney street has become a graveyard for unused taxis. After the break, fines pile up, more punishment for an already struggling industry. Armed and hungry US protesters fighting COVID restrictions. Later, naked ambition and acclaimed photographers call to those in quarantine. Credit card breathing room, the best no-interest deals to get back on track. And in sport, more league stars push back against the plan to revert to just one referee.
7 News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realized we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
I have been watching you, Matt.
I've lived in Broken Hill my whole life.
What bloody flies?
You got to sort of make your own fun a bit out here. Really got that community spirit.
I am Big Brother, and I've chosen you. Welcome to my brand new house.
I hope I'm a pretty likeable guy.
Let's hope you're ready for what I've got planned.
Big Brother, what are you playing at?
Who wins? You decide.
When did life start to move this quickly? Somehow we made it to 6:30 p.m. with no real idea where our 9-to-5s went. Isn't it time to rethink our approach and explore solutions that stretch beyond the medicine cabinet? See, at Panadol, we're making it our mission to help more Australians focus on staying well. Sure, it's a big conversation to have, but now's the time to start. Together, let's rethink care.
Okay, let's start something. Let's learn. Let's do a degree and study online so there's less of this and more of this. Let's do this with Swinburne Online.
Come on, everyone!
Donate some of your data to kids who need it most and power their potential.
Is your home bursting at the seams? Time to call Storage King. With stalls everywhere, there's a location just around the corner. Temporary or permanent solutions with no lock-in contracts and contactless move-ins. Call now and let Storage King give you back some space.
I'm off to see a man about a dog.
Oh, I've got to make a little deposit.
Time to do some paperwork.
Hey love, I'm just off to download some software.
It doesn't matter how you say it, it just matters that you do it regularly. Take Metamucil daily, a natural way to stay regular and support a healthy gut. Get Metamucil from Chemist Warehouse for the best price.
Go take care of business. Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
Welcome back. A war is brewing between a taxi owner and a local council in Sydney's inner west. The struggling operator says he needs to park his unused fleet on suburban streets, but the council is refusing to budge.
No plates, no passengers and nowhere to go. A graveyard for out-of-work cabs.
Yeah, it's desperate, yes.
Taxi owner and father of 4, Richard Lynn, has been hit hard by COVID-19. Now he's being hit harder by Burwood Council for parking his vehicles on residential streets.
If they give you a ticket, it starts from 550 and they said there will be towing fee within 7 days.
He says he's losing more than $25,000 a month and has been pleading with the council for understanding.
I wrote a letter to you.
We are looking to local councils to support and assist the taxi industry.
His taxis are just a tiny fraction of the many strewn across the city.
The taxi industry in Sydney was decimated. The total fleet is down by about 66% across the board.
But operators are still doing what they can to keep customers confident their fleet is safe. With restrictions starting to be lifted, there is hope that people like Richard can recover some losses, but he's still unsure if he'll be able to re-employ drivers, with many of them now earning more on the JobKeeper subsidy.
It's like we just have to work together.
Burwood Council declined an interview but said no fines had been issued. These tickets tell a different story. Tom Saker, 7 News.
The coronavirus threat continues to hover over the White House, with Vice President Mike Pence the latest to take time away from work. But even so, the fight against stay-at-home orders is ramping up, with heavily armed protesters now roaming the streets.
Demanding freedom from virus restrictions in North Carolina, parading weapons big and bigger, stopping for a bite to eat with shotguns and an inactive rocket launcher. These bystanders telling them to stay clear.
You trash people!
Keeping his distance, Vice President Mike Pence reportedly laying low for a day or two after an aide tested positive. With the White House exposed, 3 leaders of the US response went further. Infectious diseases expert Dr. Anthony Fauci going into modified quarantine, and those in charge of disease control and drug approval self-isolating for 2 weeks.
It is scary to go to work. I think that I'd be a lot safer if I was sitting at home than I would be going to the West Wing, but, you know, it's a time when people have to step up and serve their country.
After former President Obama's criticism, the pandemic response was
absolute chaotic disaster.
Donald Trump today fired back. We are getting great marks. Compare that to the Obama Sleepy Joe disaster known as H1N1 swine flu. Poor marks, bad polls, didn't have a clue.
A symbol of the growing outbreak was this tent hospital being set up in Central Park, but now it's being dismantled as the infection rate here falls to its lowest level since late March. But for New York State, that still means more than 500 new patients being admitted to hospital and more than 200 deaths every day.
Some parts of the state could start reopening by week's end, but the city will have to wait, leaving New Yorkers to make the most of their rooftops for now. In New York, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
With Paris set to ease its social restrictions, the Eiffel Tower has been lit up to honour those who kept the city safe during the corona outbreak. It featured portraits of healthcare workers and a message which read, "Thank goodness you were there." The city will begin reopening shops and schools in the coming hours. Some of the biggest names in comedy have joined forces from a distance for an online fundraiser. Will Ferrell got things started as the stars thanked essential workers and others.
Shout out to Jigsaw Puzzles, especially those edge pieces. Thanks for getting us started.
The event raised money for food charity Feeding America, aimed at helping children during the pandemic. The coalition calamity over the Eden-Monero by-election continues to cause drama. Just ahead, the Deputy Premier labelled embarrassing by his own party. The price of crime, how to find a steal at a very different type of auction. Isolated and offline, the forgotten suburbs and their long wait for the NBN. And freedom at last for Danny, Australia's best-dressed koala. That's next.
People thought we were absolutely bonkers. It was a bit of a snap decision on my part.
They never imagined their home would get a reaction like this.
Oh, I do like to be wowed.
Oh, wow.
Ridiculously sophisticated.
Oh, wow. Let me have a look at your wow face.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow factor.
But the real wow will be the scores.
It's a 9. A 9.
It's a 9.
We have joint leaders.
Wow.
I think we have wow.
Only one can win. Who will it be? On House Rules, tonight 7:30.
Michael Weldon here, back again with another What's for Dinner recipe. Today is my pork and prawn potsticker dumplings with a spicy dipping sauce. The first thing we need to do is make our filling. First of all, the white and light green part of some spring onions. And next I've got some coriander. What have I got? 5 or 6 sprigs. Now we're going to use the leaves later on when we make the dressing. But for now we just want the little crunchy coriander stems. Now we're going to slice our ginger nice and thin. Take out a few of our little matches of ginger, put them into a second bowl. That's the bowl for our dipping sauce. Then the rest of our ginger, we're going to chop the other way into nice fine little dice. Now we're going to go in with some garlic, some pork mince, and then we've got our prawns. I've just got the beautiful Aussie prawn tail meat you get at Coles. Peeled for you already. And all we're going to do is roughly chop this. So I've got some sesame oil, white pepper, splash of soy sauce, little pinch of sea salt, pinch of sugar as well. Just mix this together to combine. All right, so I've got our little wonton wrappers here. Now this is the fun part. Filling in the center, water on 2 of the edges, then fold together. And when you're folding, you want to push out all the air. Then just pinch it together and fold it over. All right, so we've filled all of our dumplings. Now it's time to cook them. I'm just gonna spread the oil all over the bottom of that pan and then start filling it up with our dumpling. So while our dumplings fry, we're gonna make a really quick dipping sauce. In this bowl, I've got some green beets and spring onion, and also that really finely sliced ginger from the start. Gonna add soy sauce, sesame oil, black vinegar, teaspoon of sugar, and tablespoon of whatever your favourite chili oil is. Now, if you have a look at that, you pick one up, you see that nice fried, crispy base. That's exactly what we want to get our pot stickers to before we steam them. So we've fried them. Now the second part of the cooking is the steaming. So I'm going to pour over like a cup of water, then I'm going to chuck a lid on. Okay, so it's been a few minutes, so I'm going to turn the heat off our dumplings. These are ready to plate up, ready for us to eat. Top that with our dipping sauce over the top, a little bit of coriander. That is my recipe of pork and prawn dumplings, cooked pot sticker style with a spicy dipping sauce. For this recipe and many other What's for Dinner recipes, check out the Coles website. Guys, this is What's for Dinner. Happy eating.
Welcome back. The future of Deputy Premier John Barilaro continues to cause cracks in the National Party, with more of his colleagues demanding he quit. Despite a gag order, a member of his own party has labelled him an embarrassment.
The Premier steps out in defence of her deputy.
Mr Barilaro is an outstanding advocate for the bush and he has my full support.
Echoed by John Barilaro's Nationals colleague Sarah Mitchell.
John has my full support and that's all that I'll say.
But Nationals Port Macquarie MP Leslie Williams wants him to quit. It is necessary to have a definite timeline as to his intentions in either vacating the leadership or when that will happen, she said, accusing Mr Barilaro of embarrassing the party with leaked attacks on coalition colleagues last week, including a crude comment about fellow Minister Andrew Constance.
Another day, another squabble with the National Party.
3 times another Nationals MP refused to endorse Mr Barilaro today.
So that's a yes.
Look, they're private discussions. There's no leadership spill.
Finally backing him the 4th time.
And he has your support?
Absolutely.
The Nationals chairman warning party members they could be sanctioned for speaking out. It is imperative that we avoid, intentionally or otherwise, discrediting the party.
I think it's high time that everyone took an ice bath, not a cold shower, and got on with the job.
It's possible the issue will be raised in a Nationals party room meeting tomorrow. But there is no prospect of an immediate challenge. While John Barilaro wouldn't comment today, his supporters say he still retains the clear majority support of his team. Alex Hart, 7 News.
A truck driver has escaped injury after jumping from his burning rig on the M4 this afternoon. It took firefighters around half an hour to put out the blaze, which destroyed the truck. The fire closed an on-ramp at Homebush West, but it has since reopened. A man in Sydney South West is accused of stealing a tradesman's tools worth more than $80,000 and trying to sell them online. Neighbours filmed the dramatic moment when police arrested him at Canley Heights yesterday. The owner of the tools tipped off authorities when he saw them advertised for sale on a social media site. A 27-year-old man has now been charged. Buying the right gift for that special someone can often cost a fortune, but there is a cheaper way to get your hands on a gem, with a consignment of items seized by police going under the hammer from tomorrow, with estimated prices described as a steal.
A new nude project inspired by coronavirus quarantine. American photographer Spencer Tunick normally pushes the boundaries outdoors, now with social distance.
We seem to have the wrong package there. We'll try and bring you the right one very soon. Residents in pockets of northwestern Sydney say they've been left isolated because they haven't been able to access the internet. They're still waiting for crucial telecommunications infrastructure to be installed, despite years of promises.
Cut off and forgotten. That's how residents at the Oak Tree Retirement Village feel.
Obviously with COVID-19, you're socially isolated already, and you're even more isolated when you can't communicate with loved ones.
Their internet and phone coverage is at best poor, mostly non-existent. So bad they struggle to contact doctors.
It's really frustrating and it's upsetting. I pay my bill every month, religiously.
IT managers Kim and Nigel are in another black spot, Galston.
There's been a couple of days I've had to take leave because I haven't been able to connect into work.
I've dropped out of meetings, which has been pretty bad in my position.
And they're far from alone. There have been hundreds of complaints.
Suburbs in my electorate are 10 minutes from Castle Hill, and yet we have worse telecommunications than the back of beyond.
2 towers promised back in 2016 still haven't been built, with infrastructure also urgently needed to patch black spots across 7 suburbs.
Hills and gorges in the area pose geographical challenges for coverage, with the nearest signal towers around Pennant Hills, Kellyville and Hornsby.
Telstra says it'll continue to consult the community. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Returning to the correct story now, a consignment of items seized by police will go under the hammer from tomorrow. Bargains like no other.
Direct from the criminal underworld, these treasured showpieces give a unique insight into the tastes of crooks with an appetite for the high end, who've been caught cutting corners to pocket their trophies, made wealthy with the proceeds of crime. For their former owners, it didn't end well, seized by the Australian Federal Police.
Somebody's done something that they shouldn't have done. They've had those things taken away from them. I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
A total of more than $1 million worth of jewellery will now be going up for auction online, discounted, we're told, up to 70% off. From watches and bangles.
There's an 18-carat rose gold Cartier bangle. Approximately $15,000 would be the retail of that. Our auction estimate is about $4,000 to $6,000.
Bit of a bargain.
A very good bargain.
To rings and necklaces.
Here we have the Cartier Trinity ring. White gold, yellow gold and rose gold. Approximately $25,000 retail.
Some that haven't even been worn. This one's still got the tags.
Yes, it does.
But because of coronavirus, this auction won't be happening in the traditional way. Interested bidders should register with First Estate Auctions for the online bidding to start from 10 a.m. tomorrow, and all proceeds will go back to the Commonwealth Government. Evan Batten, 7 News.
A koala in South Australia that got himself into a bit of a sticky situation when he wandered into a workshop and fell into a drip tray last year has now been released back into the wild. Nicknamed after Grease character Danny Zuko, Danny the koala had to be shaved following the mishap that covered his fur in oil. During his recovery, rescuers made him mini jumpers and clothing to keep him nice and warm. Isolated Australians are being urged to get their gear off, all in the name of art. After the break, the man behind these bold photos takes his next project indoors. A helping hand in tough times, credit card deals to help ease the pressure. Your very own skate park, a one-of-a-kind real estate opportunity.
Soon in sport, the next step as NRL players get back in touch for the first time in training.
Cool and sunny today, inland frost tomorrow, local forecast soon.
Who is that anyway?
I don't know. He's a bit of a troublemaker.
Tonight, look who lands in the bay.
He brings trouble.
Here's your brother.
Tane's caught up in a life when it landed me in jail and my brother Ted.
Better get used to seeing me around.
Home and Away, next on 7.
An order for Lego. Someone's in for some fun. Bet you love toys. You're childish.
No, I'm not.
The COVID-19 crisis brings unprecedented internet traffic over the NBN network. To help support Australia during this time, we currently offer internet providers up to 40% increased network capacity. Our technicians remain on the ground wherever they're needed. And we're sharing updated tips to help you get more from your home setup. To find out more, visit nbn.com.au/response.
The Australian government is working hard to keep businesses in business and Australians in jobs. That's why we've introduced the JobKeeper payment. If you're a business severely impacted by the coronavirus, you'll receive a fortnightly payment of $1,500 for each eligible employee to cover their wages. For employees, it will allow millions of Australians to keep their job, including those who've been stood down. To find out more, visit australia.gov.au, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Feel house proud with the home makeover you've dreamed of, thanks to Allianz. There are 6 chances to win $10,000 to turn your dreams into reality. Watch House Rules for the nightly code word for your chance to win big.
Feed the family with Hungry Jack's new family bundle. Treat yourself with 2 Whoppers, 2 cheeseburgers, 4 small chips, 4 Cokes, 10 nuggets and sauce, only $24.95. Get takeaway, drive-through or delivery at Hungry Jack's.
1, 2, 3, 4. So clap it back. Hey, clap, clap. So clap it back. Hey, I'm getting you right back. 'Cause you're not gonna stand around living like that. So clap it back. Clap it, clap, clap. Alright, so clap it back. Hey.
Centrum provides multiple health benefits in just one tablet. Centrum, complete from A to Zinc.
6 Aussie burger meals, thanks.
That'll be $29.90.
Do you have change for 10 million?
You could take away Ozlotto's huge $10 million jackpot. Will your numbers bring you a truckload of cash this Tuesday?
Play now in-store at thelot.com or on the Lot app.
Checking the markets now, and the ASX 200 closed 70 points higher today. Major finance firms were among the top performers. Webjet shares were up after the Prime Minister announced a plan to start rolling back COVID-19 restrictions. And our dollar is buying 65.35 US cents. Fuel prices have increased across Sydney. The average now $1.14.1 a litre. We found regular unleaded for just 92.8 cents in North Ryde and 88.7 cents in Riverstone. A Brisbane home which has 3 stories, 6 bedrooms and 2 skate bowls has gone on the market. The unique property, first owned by an Australian skate park designer, has hosted some of the world's best skateboarders since it was built. It'll go to auction next month. Active families are encouraged to make an offer. As restrictions begin to ease across our state, the District Court has announced jury trials will resume. The court is confident those being summoned will be safe, with extra measures in place to deal with the COVID threat. A fact sheet will be posted with the summonses outlining the new steps to keep jurors safe, including thermal scanning, social distancing and hand sanitizer stations. Those who are at risk will be exempt. A photographer best known for capturing large naked groups has now come up with a way to keep working without breaking quarantine laws. Instead of heading outside, he's going virtual.
A new nude project inspired by coronavirus quarantine. American photographer Spencer Tunick normally pushes the boundaries outdoors. Now, with social distancing, he's moving his artwork indoors and online. Stay Apart Together aims to get 100 Aussies to take their gear off, taking a screenshot instead of a photo.
I will orchestrate people into different positions the same way that I've done it in public space.
The artwork will take place on Zoom and will swap the photographer's typical backdrops, like the Opera House, for participants' own homes, making it slightly more comfortable to disrobe.
Okay,
Famous for gathering people to pose in large-scale nude photo shoots from car parks in icy weather to grand European castles, the American photographer has produced more than 120 nude group installations in more than 30 countries.
Do something different, be part of an artwork, and sort of give you that sense of empowerment as well, even though it's only you.
To volunteer for his latest project, you just fire off an email. His message, simple yet powerful. Stay strong and united. Samantha Brett, 7 News.
The temptation of credit is often the downfall of many Aussies struggling to get ahead. Still to come, the cards offering relief in a time of financial hardship. There is a catch, but we'll tell you everything you need to know. That is soon on 7 News. But now Mel is here with Sport, and Mel, NRL players have made contact for the first time.
They have, Fergo, the first time since they returned to work, and they could not be happier as the 2 or 1 referee debate rages on. Details up next. Plus, why the Storm are preparing to head home from their training base in Albury. And the surprise challenger to Iron Mike in a throwback to the 90s, but is the real deal, biting off more than he can chew.
It's gonna knock you off your feet.
Tiger King shocked the world, but you only heard half the story.
Pair of snitches.
The key players uncensored.
Wish I could have done more, Tim.
Shocking footage exposed. Our burning questions answered.
He was killed.
The exclusive Tiger King. What really went down?
Shh.
Tuesday, 7:30, only on 7.
The power's in your hands and at your feet. The BMW 320i sedan from 69,900 drive away. Joy is coming.
Thanks to Light and Easy, Australians of all ages can enjoy their choice of delicious, nutritious meals in the comfort and safety of their own home. Especially those at a greater health risk during these times. If you or someone close to you could benefit by having Light and Easy meals delivered safely with our contactless delivery service, visit lightandeasy.com.au or call us on 13 15 12.
I cross the road when I want to, okay, because I'm an adult. So I just crossed the road and I walked straight into the Queensland Police and he said, "Oi, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm being an adult." He said, "Do you have any ID?" And I'm like, "No." Because I don't need it anymore. If I ever get asked for ID, I think, if you think I'm under 18, I am not well, just quietly.
We spend 1/3 of our lives at work, another third in dreamland, and that sacred last third here, from home time to sleepy time. IKEA designs around life's precious moments. So wake up happy every morning, even Mondays. Make mess, mohawks, and laugh until your belly hurts. Because with IKEA, there really is no place like home.
Now more than ever, we know what families are going through. So this week you can pick up lots of specials, like Australian lamb leg roast, now just $11 a kilo. Save $3 a kilo. We want you to always get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
We're losing him? What do you want to do?
Ew!
Australians of all ages are choosing Light and Easy. Light and Easy can even assist those on aged care home care packages. If you or someone close to you could benefit by having healthy meals delivered, call us on 13 15 12.
Welcome back. The number of league players and coaches against the plan to switch back to one referee is growing by the day. Origin stars David Clemmer and Moses Mbai voiced their concerns today as training ramped up in preparation for the May 28 relaunch.
Never before have players been so happy to rip into each other.
Might have to jump on some anti-inflammatories tonight and have an ice bath, but yeah, it's good.
Coming together and cuddling, it was pretty cool.
The return to contact training is a welcome one for David Clemmer, who's been homeschooling son Cooper.
Probably lasts about 5 minutes and then I'm out because I think my son's smarter than me. Already he's in year one.
Clemmer is among a growing number of players and coaches unhappy with plans to revert to one referee.
Once you go back to one, the main focus is there, slowing the ruck down.
One ref controlling everything, so yeah, actually it could be harder for me.
It'll probably slow it down because there'll be less eyes on the ruck and things like that.
But the Commission chairman is unmoved. Peter V'landys says one ref, combined with a new 6 again rule for ruck infringements, will finally stamp out wrestling.
The two referees have not stopped the wrestle. Giving the attacking team 6 again, even if it's the 5th and last tackle, will be a major deterrent for anyone that's trying to slow down the ruck.
It's all part of a $50 million cost-cutting drive. Other measures include slashing the wages of the CEO and his executive team and a cap on football department spending. Every department at League headquarters is under review, except for the bunker and those who work in it. Now other codes want to share it.
If we can apportion the cost to a number of sports and all the sports get together, it makes it affordable.
Michelle Bishop, 7 News.
Well, the NRL is yet to announce the extra sanction for Nathan Cleary's TikTok videos, but he is expected to be let off lightly for the social distancing breach. After homeschooling his children, Cameron Smith joined the Storm in Albury for today's 13-on-13 contact sessions, but they are heading home tomorrow night after Victoria eased restrictions.
They've only seen 3 places in Albury. It's the hotel, the gym and the Albury Tigers ground. That's it.
The NRL is hopeful of a compromise with the Queensland Government to allow Bryce Cartwright and Brian Kelly to train without flu vaccinations. The Swans say Lance Franklin is ready to play as soon as the AFL is. The shutdown's given Buddy time to recover from his January knee surgery. Sydney's other key forward, Sam Reid, is also on track to play. The AFL Commission's almost ready to announce the restart after the green light from Victoria's Premier.
We all want that, provided it's safe, appropriate and can be done in a cautious way.
The AFL is trying to find a fair way for all teams to start group training. 16 Adelaide Crows escaped bans, but assistant Ben Hart was stood down for 6 weeks for training in a group in quarantine. 2 of our female cricketers are at the forefront of the fight against coronavirus. Australia A representative Georgia Redmayne is a doctor at Tweed Heads in the state's north, and Laura Harris is an emergency department nurse. The jobs allow them to keep the stress of professional cricket in perspective.
Like me, having a whinge at cricket is not quite in comparison to a lot of stuff that we see here.
If you have a tough day at the hospital, it's kind of nice to just go out to the nets, hit a few balls, and it provides a nice balance.
Yeah, with fans desperate for live sport, Harris says the Women's Big Bash will be bigger than ever this year. Well, he scoffed at offers to fight Paul Gallen and Sonny Bill Williams, but there is a real challenger on the horizon for the rejuvenated Mike Tyson. 57-year-old legend Evander "The Real Deal" Holyfield wants a third fight against Iron Mike. Their last bout in 1997 ended in controversy when Tyson bit off a chunk of Holyfield's ear.
Even though I'm 4 years older than him, would be no problem.
53-year-old Tyson is coming out of retirement for some exhibition fights. Well, fans desperate for a football fix have welcomed the return of Korea's K-League, and they were treated to something extra special last night.
And he plays it in! Oh, what an incredible goal! Goal of the month anywhere in the world, but there's not been much competition.
No, there hasn't. Cho Jae-won's incredible backheel was a highlight of the first round in more than 2 months due to COVID-19 restrictions. All games were played in empty stadiums, but hopefully a very good sign of things to come, and I reckon he might have meant that, Fergo.
I better pick myself a team and get watching.
Yeah, get involved. It's good.
Good on you, Mel. Thank you. During these tough times, credit cards have become even more important when juggling household expenses. On the road out of this crisis, some providers are now giving those drowning in credit card debt some breathing space, with good deals on offer for balance transfer accounts.
They're tempting, especially when times are tough.
At the height of it, it was probably about $8,500.
Avid traveller David Jackson opted for a balance transfer, which is moving your debt to a low or no interest credit card.
It's about discipline and being able to pay that off.
Usually this is a year or 2 years, but right now we can see balance transfer offers in the market up to 26 months.
The catch is, if you make further purchases, the interest rate will hit you hard. But used correctly, balance transfer is a ladder out of debt. Australians, on average, have $2,909 on credit cards. Finder.com.au has scoured the market for the best 5. Coles is the top pick, saving you $437 on a debt of $2,909 over 18 months. St George Vertigo will save you $371. City Rewards $357 over 26 months. HSBC $330 and Virgin $324.
That helped me in my instance in getting on top of my credit card debt.
You need to pay it off in that period.
Balance transfer, if used right, could be the breathing space you need coming out of COVID-19. Steve Titmus, 7 News.
David is back now with the latest forecast, and Brownie, it was fresh this morning.
Oh yeah, coldest morning so far this year, Fergo. More sunshine tomorrow, but a change is brewing. Those details straight after the break.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, school fee overhaul, the plan for government funding to be means tested, the fresh coronavirus crackdown on a restriction loophole, and new details surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's new Beverly Hills home. Those stories and every breaking development tonight at 10 p.m. on The Latest.
This is what the world's been waiting for.
Brand new Britain's Got Talent, Wednesday.
For me, the pull of the Australian landscape is that it's got this beaten, weathered harshness, which is contrasted by these beautiful colours and soft matte surfaces. I love how a matte surface holds light, how it diffuses the light. It's absolute joy to photograph. It's like Colorbond Still Matte. It's strong, enduring, yet subtle in its beauty.
It's more important than ever to stay close. And you can, with unlimited standard calls for eligible pensioners to local, national and Australian mobiles from a Telstra home phone.
Glorious beef eye fillets are now just $19.99 a kilo at Aldi. It's high-end steak without the high-end price. Oh, how dare you animals. Aldi, good, different.
My perfect bowl is with Mum, of course.
Dad, can you give me some?
Tell me what you think. If I didn't share it with my mum, it would not be my perfect bowl.
Oh. You know, I found a dead body yesterday. Damn, these white girls love trouble.
No mercy for an honest man.
Trish and Jane Doe out of the bay in Provincetown. Gunshot.
No angels have I.
These are bad people. Stay away from my case.
I could have saved this girl. There's only one person you need to save.
Watch out. Tide's coming in.
The brand new series, Hightown, now streaming only on Stan.
Get AHM hospital cover from only $15.75 a week. Yay. It's that easy, so you can get back to doing whatever it is you like to do. Even that. Find out more and join AHM Direct today. AHM, the simple bit.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Now more than ever, we know what families are going through, so you can pick up lots of specials like 10-pack Nescafe coffee sachets or 8-pack gold sachets, now just $3.15 each. That's half price. We want you to always get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
It doesn't matter where you're going, if you enjoy getting there. The BMW X1 S-Drive 18i, from $49,900 drive away. Joy is coming.
Who is that anyway?
I don't know. He's a bit of a troublemaker. Tonight, look who lands in the bay.
He brings trouble.
Here's your brother.
Tane's caught up in a life when it landed me in jail and my brother did.
Better get used to seeing me around.
Home and Away, next on 7.
This weather report brought to you by the BMW 3 Series.
Tonight's 7 News headlines: an 8-year-old boy is in hospital with critical head injuries after a freak schoolyard accident as children return to class today. Major restaurant chain Rashay's has shown 7 News how it plans to reopen even though it's set to lose more money than it makes. A woman at the centre of a weekend protest could now face police action for allegedly illegally running a cosmetic surgery business. And Jack Mundy is being remembered as a union giant who helped save a big slice of Sydney history from the wrecking ball. Now with Sydney's weather, here's David.
Thanks very much, Fergo. Well, it's another cold and clear night across our city. Frost's expected to return first thing tomorrow morning. Now, today's top just shy of 20 degrees. In fact, it happened a couple of minutes after 2 o'clock this afternoon, following a cold start. Yes, 7.8 degrees. It was a much colder day inland. As you can see, down to 1 degree at Camden and also at Richmond. That happened around about sunrise. And, of course, we've had a clear blue sky and essentially just a gentle southerly breeze. As we go to the satellite, we've got this massive high pressure zone zone, which is behind the dry weather, and it's also responsible for the light wind regime that's been dominating conditions now for at least the past 24 hours. But atmospheric pressure is starting to rise. So what does that mean? Well, it means the atmosphere will even stabilise further. It's going to strengthen. In fact, the high will be parked virtually right over the top of us tomorrow. So once again, frost will dominate large parts of our state. We're looking at a light wind regime. And as for this cold front down south, well, there's not much in fact. That's going to simply pass us by. But around the nation tomorrow for Brisbane, more sunshine and mild conditions. A forecast top there around 24 degrees. Melbourne fine 17. You'll see some showers coming into the southern capital tomorrow night. As for Perth, it should be a sunny day and a forecast maximum of around 23 degrees. Statewide, we'll see just some isolated light showers. That's clipping the far north coast. Some isolated fog patches are likely in parts of the east as well. But again, frost will dominate. Generally, a mostly sunny day, although we'll start to see some high-level cloud build across the interior. More sunshine is expected in the suburbs tomorrow after that frosty start. Yes, again, there are a string of ones out there. As for the coastal waters, smooth seas, winds essentially light and variable for a good part of the day. For our city, more sunshine, forecast top 21 degrees. As for the next 7 days, let's check it out. Little change is expected on Wednesday. On Thursday, things change a little bit. Bit of a southerly pushing up the coast. We are expecting it to trigger just some coastal showers both Thursday and Friday, then a return to fine conditions across the weekend. So I throw an extra log on the fire tonight, Fergo.
You enjoy that, Brownie. Good on you. That is 7 News for this Monday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. I'm Mark Ferguson from all the team. I hope you have a great night.